Welcome to another episode of The Panel. In this excerpt, we have an honest conversation about relationships and selecting a partner for a successful future. If you'd like to be a part of the conversation in future videos, make sure to follow the Twitch channel to be notified when we go live. And without further ado, let's get to the discussion.
You know, we have the unfortunate, what seems like a luxury of a lot of sexual imagery in society. We have pornography, which makes it easier for people to basically activate those the dopamine rush that they really should otherwise be getting from a actual real life female and interacting with her, and they can easily quickly and easily create a basically activate that dopamine rush, and there can be a release similar to what it's like when you're actually with a woman. And that has basically made it that's made it, and I'm not saying that's like one and the only thing. There are a lot of things. There is drug use, there are all kinds of innumerable what Christians describe as temptations, and they really are, in a way, that can keep us from kind of being the men that we're supposed to be biologically pursuing females. Like, it's in our nature to be pursuing females, because like you said, we're not necessarily always trying to find the most suitable mate. Really, it's been in our history as men to go find as many mates as possible. And there's been a lot of arguments and discussions as to whether or not humans are even really meant to be monogamous. And I think it's just a sign of the times. That's personally what I think. And I think that it can be easy to kind of fall into like this kind of almost cyclical tendency to just be comfortable or happy. And I'm not talking about you in particular, but I'm talking about any guy out there that has kind of is like not really out there in the game pursuing. I think it can become easy because we live in a society that has so many comforts. And again, food, anything, man. Like, there's almost anything that can satisfy that quick dopamine hit that we're looking for. Mm-hmm. And then by the end of the day, we've gotten enough of those dopamine hits and we're good. We don't need to go pursue a female. Mm-hmm. But I'll just tell you from my experience and what I personally want is I want by the end of my life to make an enormous impact on the world. I don't feel like in my years that I've done that quite yet. And I think that one of the means to that end that I can, accomplish that through is a good family.
By the way, he thinks your Defenseless thinks your haircut's really cool, and that my trash can is on point.
Oh, thank you, Defenseless. I appreciate that. But yeah, no, like what I personally want is to have a family, and that's not like, my tendency nowadays compared to what it was like 2 or 3 years ago is I'm trying to talk as many females as I can right now. And 2 years ago I had what's called one-itis, where basically I was like, my mind was on one girl that I met, and I didn't have many other options, and I was banking everything on that one girl. And it's not a place to be. You got to give yourself some options as a guy, I think. And to have zero, yeah, I think it is kind of an anomaly, but it's a more common anomaly than you would think. It's a lot more common, I think. And I think that probably deep down there are a lot of guys out there that they're really in want of a female in their life, but they have almost given up. And it's not the worst thing in the world, dude. A lot of those guys are probably, growing a whole lot in other ways. So there's no judgment. I'll say there's no judgment on my end for either, behavior being one or better than the other. I just think if you have a goal of you want to have a family one day, I don't think it's practical not to be pursuing girls right now, even if you're good, even if you're comfortable or good in your life. If that's not a goal of yours, then I totally get it. And I mean, I don't think it even is practical to be like out there, like, always trying to find a girlfriend, a long-term relationship girlfriend by any means, or by all means though, if you want like a partner to have fun with, then, pursue a girl and have the understanding with her that it's just a, short-term thing or just a casual thing. So anyway.
Well, defenseless, while some people may agree with you that females are good for one thing and one thing only, and that they're inferior to men in every way, there is a larger portion of people that would disagree.
Yeah, and I don't agree that men are superior. I don't agree that men are superior in every way. I think there's some things that women do just inherently better. There are a lot of, there's some things that men do better, but
my arms. You talking about my arms?
I think he's talking about Casey's.
Oh.
Wait, my arm?
Because your arms are asleep, bro. Why would he be talking about your arms?
I don't know. Maybe he has like see-through vision.
X-ray visions.
But I mean,
so let me dovetail off that for you, okay? So with today's, access to quick dopamine hits, right?
Okay.
And with the divorce rate so high, do you think that it's possible that the people who like spike up the divorce rate only get married because they see that instantaneous dopamine high and don't necessarily take into consideration of the long-term effects of marriage?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, I think the divorce rate, there are a lot of reasons for the divorce rate being what it is. I think the divorce rate, there are a number of different things. I think that women's and men's roles have changed so drastically over the past 30 to 40 years after feminism, after the 60s feminism.
After like second wave feminism?
Right. So basically, women are taking on more responsibilities than they have previously. I think that women's perceptions of things have changed quite a lot, and there's a lot more control in the average American household from the female side than there's ever been in human history. Mm-hmm. And I think that takes a lot of adjusting, and what it ends up doing is it creates we have a lot of men too who are so we're all about the vajayjay, basically, a lot of us, and
the vagine.
The vagine, the pristine vagine. So they get, they're a lot of guys, they're very almost just automatic and robotic in the sense, not thoughtful enough, because they meet a girl that, like, the sex is good or the sex is fun or whatever, but they're ignoring all these other things because in their lives they haven't had this fun and excitement before. Mm-hmm. So they get baited into a marriage with the girl that they haven't really tested yet. They haven't really understood yet.
Like, the sex might be good, but
she's crazy.
And she doesn't have
that
qualities of, like, let's say you'd want a mother of your children to have.
Exactly. Yeah. And so that's a problem.
That's why you gotta follow the man rules, okay? Rule number 1, man up. Rule number 2, don't stick your dick in crazy. That's the second rule. Like, dude, it's up there.
That's if there could be the problem. See, here's the thing: is that everybody gets sucked into the public education system. There's nobody to. Dads aren't teaching their boys, this is how you select for a good female.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They're not doing that enough.
Dude, that's a big point. Fatherhood is like non-existent now. And like, men go to work. That's a really good point. Don't lose your train of thought, because I want to come back to you on that. But the reason why society, like, not just for like picking girls, but as a whole, why society is the way that it is because there's no fathers with backbones. Like, you have fathers that go to
They're
work.
Very beta.
They come home. Not just beta, but they just don't care about their kids. Like, they come home, they watch their TV, they get on their phone, whatever, and they go to sleep. But there's they don't take the time to really raise their kids. Some do, but I'm just saying, as a general thing, as a general statement, fathers are not being proper fathers nowadays. And they, they have, so these kids grow up with these voids. They grow up learning everything they learn on the internet, on what they see on TV, what the celebrities are doing. That's how they're raised. What they see on Snapchat news, you know, that's how they're being raised.
Yeah.
Like more than their parents. And so like they kind of, you know, they're just failing at that. But continue with your point.
No, and I mean that's definitely right. A lot of us who were raised on television were raised on and you know, now it's social media, YouTube, and you know, I think in a lot of households you're seeing guys that have kind of like caved into a dominant wife or a bitchy wife or whatever, and they're not really they're not being a man enough, and part of it too, part of that, there's an element to that too. Let's talk about the state of Texas. 87% of all divorce cases will end up giving favor and you know, basically control of the children and control of a lot of the assets to the female. And that's like, you know, would you really expect that in 87% of all marriages, like that the person that, you know, it's, you know, the man's wrong or the man like really deserves to get screwed over in all those cases? Yeah, like maybe sometimes it is better for the female, or maybe even a lot of times it's better for the female to be like, you know, sole custody of the kids. But 87%, so what that does is it creates a condition in which you know, a lot of men who they kind of have to take it. You know, all like, you know, in my household growing up, my dad was a very good and manly guy, but he had to take it, dude. He had to take a lot of disrespect, and I love, you know, both my mom and dad were amazing people. I think they went through a lot of tough things. I'm glad that they stayed together, but he did go through a lot of disrespect that a lot of guys would not go through, period. And that, you know, those are cases that would have so it would have resulted in divorce, and it almost did at one point. But that is, unfortunately, is teaching a lot of young men, like the sons, that they're seeing these households and they're saying, this is normal, this is what it's like, so when I, you know, grow up, this is almost what I can expect, and I'll have to deal with it. And that's not the way to go about it. You'd rather have a woman that she didn't have to be a genius. She didn't have to be capable of a ton of deep thoughts. She has to be good-hearted in nature and intelligent enough and thoughtful enough to raise good children and be a good and faithful wife, and be the kind of person that's willing to stick through something even when it gets difficult. She's got to be tough. And this got to be the same thing for men, and women have to be able to select for guys right too. You know, women are just as guilty of men, of like when they get into a relationship that has good sex or whatever, that they stay in it even though they're not being treated right. You see that all the time, actually. And so we have a lot of society. It is filled with relationships that are just generally kind of crappy. So you end up with kind of just a lot of mediocre children. And then thus you have kind of a just generally mediocre society. And I love this society and everything. I love a lot of people. I love our culture in general, even though it needs a lot of work. But these are like, you know, these are some things we have to work on. So I'd say the number one thing is that we have to work on is selecting for better mates and understanding what creates a good long-term partner that I can have children with.
And you were raised on a farm, defenseless, on YouTube?
On YouTube, yeah.
State triggered word?
State trigger word.
Oh, triggered word. So one thing I will say about that is that I feel like, because you know how you're saying that we're not trained to look for better mates. Well, one other factor for that is we look at celebrities, that this is such a celebrity-driven culture, and it's kind of like we are conditioned to epitomize the best females as the celebrity females, and really they're not good females. They're just superficial, and it's all about how they look, and it's all about vain things and vanity and stuff. And so aside from that, also, like, people don't have the patience. It's not, first of all, they don't know what a good woman is. They don't know what to look for. And secondly, even if they do know what to look for, a lot of times they're just impatient, and you know, they just want the quick gratification, like a quick
hit it
hit it and quit it.
Yeah.
And,
And they realize they can't quit it once they hit it.
yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
It's hard, dude. When a girl looks good, it's so tough.
Yeah, you're just talking about the thighs. Like
Not even just the
an hour
thighs,
ago.
like the skin and just like everything. It's just so.
Yeah, I mean,
Hey, creepy.
and for me,
What's up? What's up? Welcome to the stream.
welcome. So for me, and also like you said, with like dads get a bad rap when it comes to like divorce court and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And like I said, my mother, she didn't raise me. For a very short period of time, she raised me. But for the rest of my childhood, my father raised me, and the woman he was with for a while, kind of to some extent, but mainly it was my dad. You know, I lived with him, and so like because of the dysfunction I grew up in, already divorced parents. Whenever I go to choose my next like relationship, I want to make a wise decision, so I don't end up in the I kind of like determine my household, if you will.
Yeah, you set the tone as a
I set
man.
the tone,
You
yeah.
set the tone.
Especially if you're coming from a Christian standpoint. If you're coming from a Christian standpoint, you kind of have to stick to it. You have to kind of be on the same page going in. And, you know, I mean...
Yeah, so... Oh, look, creepy...
Check out the limited edition red trash can.
Well, creepy has something. Says, I mean, I was raised by my father. I feel he did an okay job. LOL. I mean, I had no idea what my period was when I came around. but hey.
Your period?
LOL. I was creepy as a girl, I assume.
Oh, okay.
I would
is a
hope
grill.
so. I would hope so.
I thought I was waiting for like a period of excellence or something, like, you know, like some sort of...
I'm a
like
girl.
not
She
a
says,
literal-
okay, creepy
yeah,
confirms that she
okay.
is a girl.
Girl confirmed, okay.
Okay. And,
Grill confirmed.
Girl and defenseless champ keeps putting trash can emojis, I guess. Limited edition red trash can.
No, the
Apparently, defenseless really likes
Yeah.
my trash can over here. So
You need to mail it to him or something.
Pretty nice trash can.
it is. I
would-
like the
at 1 million subscribers, we'll give away the trash can.
All right, cool.
Yes, I will. But got the red and white theme going on in the kitchen. So
There'll be a massive bidding war for it.
put it on eBay, get rich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like with my father, like I kind of feel like he did a good job with providing for me and stuff, but I don't feel a deep connection with him
Yeah.
at all levels, you know. And so there's that too. Like I want to be close to
There's
my,
there's a level of that where you're probably not going to have that for a very long time.
Well,
Like
yeah.
me and my dad didn't like I wasn't really in a good relationship with my dad until I moved out. And at that point he realized that I wasn't necessarily a kid, that I was a grown ass man, that I was doing my own thing.
Yeah,
And then
I
he
feel
had to
like-
respect it. Like even if I did something that he didn't necessarily agree with, he's just like, well, you're a fucking grown ass adult. I mean, you do you, boy. And
Yeah.
I think we came to an understanding where it was just like, you know, we had to respect
Psycho.
each other as men.
Hey, Psycho Killer, welcome to the stream.
Psycho Killer 957. All right. Creepy. Yeah, Creepy says, "Do you feel like you're lacking emotions?" And she said, "I had a hard time expressing myself in relationships." Would I say, am I lacking emotions? I wouldn't necessarily. Well, perhaps, but I guess because I didn't have that much motherly affection growing up in my childhood, I guess that kind of affected the way that I'm wired and the way I think and the way I process things. I'm sure whenever I get into an actual healthy relationship down the road that I will realize things will come to surface, and things will come to surface, and I realize, oh, okay, so this is like I need to correct this in my way of thinking and the way I'm wired emotionally because of my upbringing, because the lacking of having my mother in my life and being there for me. You know, it was just a one parent sided home.
Can you scroll down on the comment?
Yeah, scroll down.
Be quiet.
Is it not catching up? What do you mean? It's already. It's
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Which,
Okay.
by the way, I'm gonna say, Creepy. Like, you seem like you had a really awesome dad, because for him to do it, to raise you by himself, like
It's a hard thing
It's
for a
hard.
dad
It's
to
respectable.
yeah,
do. Yeah.
definitely.
course.
Like, there can be a void that, but I feel here's the way I see it. Like, for girls, like, they really need a father figure. Like, they need
Yeah.
and for a guy, they need that motherly figure. It's like,
Yeah.
it's weird how that works. I mean, they also need a dad to kind of show them how to be a man, but at the same time, like, they have to be the man of the house. So, and they're already learning how to be a man.
You know, there was an actor.
Both are needed,
have you ever heard of the Honey, I Shrunk Your Kids movies from like
I
way
think
back
I
in the
saw
80s
it like
and
way
90s?
back when I was like 5 years old or
So
something.
so there, that actor, he was actually he was a big actor, and he you know, he was, you know, he's already at stardom. He had a great career going for him. He had a few kids with his wife, but his wife, like, I think died. You know, she had like cancer or something, like she battled cancer, I believe. And he actually quit making movies completely so that he could just focus on solely raising his kid.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I
his
heard
kids.
about that.
And I think he had daughters also.
He left
And-
millions on the table.
Yeah,
he
he
could have
left
made so much
millions on the table, and they've interviewed him and stuff, or they've asked him, you know, like, would you regret it? And he's like, absolutely not, because I wanted to provide the best possible environment for my kids that I could within my means. And I can't imagine it's any kind of easy thing to do as a single parent, but much less like a guy, like, is not going to have that kind of instincts on just like
Yeah.
a lot of the parenting, not parenting, but like just child raising things. And you know, he said that he wanted to provide an environment that's so comfortable as kids to come home to after school or whatever. Like, he had music playing for them, and he had like just a you know, beautiful home environment for them, because he really wanted to focus solely on that. And that's what I have a ton of respect for.
And you know what? That is being a man. That
Yeah,
is being a man,
exactly,
because you
exactly,
brought these
yeah.
kids into the world.
Right.
This is the family that you started.
Yep.
And you're not neglecting it. A lot of men feel
Yeah.
like the manly thing to do is just go out and make money and provide. Well,
Right.
providing is part of it, but
It's only a part
that
of it.
is
yeah.
only, like, as a man, you look, your family, your kids, that's your legacy. That's the
Yeah.
people that are going to come after you. Those are the people that you're literally you brought them into the world. They represent you.
Yeah.
When you're gone, they're going to be representing they're going to carry your name.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they're your biggest investment. They're the people that you have to invest in, because one day you'll be gone, and that's what you leave the world with. You know, when you die, you can't take your money with you. You can't, you know, like, you're gone. But what you leave behind, that's legacy is such an important thing, and a lot of men don't realize that. They don't.
Yeah.
They're too short-sighted to see, oh, I need money, I need a good car, I need a good house. Like, they just, like, don't get me wrong, providing is a number one priority as a father, but it's not. It's a lot more than that, and they have to realize that, like, the legacy you're leaving behind, that's your family, you know. And, like, I mean, you see, like, for example, I was playing Grand Theft Auto 5 the other day, and the storyline, you just see how I forget his name, Michael. He's just, like, neglected his family, and they're completely, like,
And they suck.
in disarray. Yeah,
They suck.
because when you don't invest in your family, that's what happens. That's
Yeah.
what you're gonna get. So, but yeah,
Yeah, creepy. It's just a good example of somebody that you know, put a lot more thought into it, I think, than the vast majority of even parents in general do. And you know, I think society would be just profoundly better and stronger if
Shane.
Shane is on. Hey, buddy, welcome to the stream.
Wow.
Que paso, Shane?
Yeah, but what were you saying?
Society would just be a lot better if people knew how to be more selfless as parents, and also to teach their children qualities that they need to look for in a potential mate,
Yeah.
and to teach their kids about, like, the importance of marriage and stuff like that. Even when they're children, they're not too young to, like, think about marriage when they're
Yeah.
older.
That's a lot of.
So-
That's go
So
ahead,
creepy.
Shane.
Do you know what I think? I actually think that most guys think this way, at least on some level. maybe even like maybe not necessarily to the point where like I'm willing to talk about it openly for anyone on the internet to hear. But I think that most men, I think most people just in general have this level of like emotional and rational thinking that they have to kind of balance between. Like, and I think that pretty much all of us here have very different ideas about what, you know, being a man is, or what being a good person is, or what, you know, happiness is. I mean, we talked about that earlier, like what makes one person happy versus what makes another person happy. And one person, you know, wanting to, you know, be in a relationship while, you know, like other people may not want to be in relationships and just kind of focus on themselves. And I think if more people openly spoke about it, then it would become far more normal.
Yeah. I mean, people don't like that. That's kind of like goes back to what we were saying. Like, kids don't know what to look for. Like, I think kids are they're not given enough credit. They're smart. Like, they can learn if you teach them from a young age, like, you know, the good qualities, and you kind of show like who they're supposed to look for, you know, and you show them what it's like to be a man. And you know, it's one of those things where like you don't really
Can't beat me in a staring contest. Don't even try.
but
I think it could very well be, and I think that, you know, there is a possibility that, you know, there's just a comfort level for you that is so high at the moment that you feel like there's just going to be too much risk in terms of your happiness or your progress, you know, because of your previous experiences or whatever. And that maybe the time's not worth it. Maybe the money's not worth it. You know, like it's not a, you know, when you're trying to go out and date and you're trying to pursue females, it's not something that that you can just, you're going to be able to get that time or the money back. You're risking it.
right.
But
Yeah.
you know, the point to understand from all that is that nature rewards aggression. And aggression, risk is something that is almost inherent.
Not like in a
in
violent way
aggression.
necessarily. Like,
Yeah, I'm not talking about like that, but I'm talking about just aggressively
like
pursuing
going
something.
after what you want.
Right, and you know that it's same if you were in a sales job. If you're in a sales job, you've got to aggressively pursue it. You got to pursue it intelligently. There's going to be risk involved. You're going to get rejected. You're going to maybe seem a certain way to somebody. But
And here's one thing I would say about that is that whenever you find the right woman for you personally, she's not going to hinder your progress. In fact, she's going to exponentially increase that progress. She's supposed to be a helping hand for you. Like, your goals and her goals should align, and so you guys should be on a team and work towards the same goal. So it's when you find the right woman, it's about, that's what it should be about. It's about teamwork.
Or the right
It's
man,
about-
depending. I mean, you know, even though this is bro talk, whenever you find the right person for you.
Exactly. And so, like, you're experiencing progress, you're experiencing, you know, in your career, and you're happy, you know, you're free and all this stuff. But if who's to say that you'll find someone that's on board with what you're doing, and that I guess increases your productivity and just helps you achieve your goals. And you know, it's all about like compatibility too. Like I think if you get in a relationship with someone that makes you a worse person, or brings you down and hinders the dreams and goals that you've set for yourself, then that's the wrong person, you know. So it's that, like, I don't think being in a relationship necessarily hinders your goals or hinders your or makes you less successful, quote unquote. If you're in a bad relationship, it does. But if you're in a good relationship with the right person at the right time, I think it can be the opposite. So,
well, I'll say this as a proponent of being a person that dates. I think it's really important to consider the possibility that when you actually find that person that you think
Shane, stop trolling in chat.
that when you find the person that
When even rando other people just like, bruh, get GTFO.
What do you do?
He's just
He's being like just trolling.
Okay.
he's like
Anyway.
saying like Trump
So
chants and crap.
basically, okay, so if you finally do get to that point, let's say you spent like more than 5 years without dating, but you get to a point where you meet someone at work or you meet like someone through a friend that you think is just like perfect for you, and she may even think that about you initially too. But if you haven't, like, I think it's really important to date just to get the practice in of.
Oh no, I mean like I've clearly already dated.
And not just not
simultaneously.
just the practice, but that's the whole point of dating. You get to know the person. Like, you get to know what are your goals, what are your ambitions,
And fully figuring out what you like too. You may let's say you meet someone you like, pretty soon here, and you get into a relationship and you thought for the longest time that you liked A, and you actually like B, and I'm not talking about like gender. I'm talking about like, okay, you thought that you liked a girl that's like very kind-hearted, but you find it off-putting if she's too nice or something like that. Just little subtle things like that. I think it's really important to refine and fully understand who you are and what you like in a relationship, so that when you actually do get to that point where you find someone you think like kind of blows you away, then you really get it and you really understand, and you can be ready for that person fully in a way that you may not be if you're not getting that practice, and you may also come off a certain way without all that, without enough practice. And I'm not trying to put any fear in your mind, and I know that you're not like taking that way at all, but that's I think it's really important, and that's something like recently here I've been a lot more aggressive in the past few years, because I want to put myself in in situations where I get hurt or when I get rejected, so that I can understand if maybe I'm doing something wrong, or if I can get better at certain things, as a man,
Yeah, and like it sounds cheesy, but if you go back to the Dr. Seuss quote, and there's a Dr. Seuss quote that says, those who mind don't matter, and those who matter don't mind. So like, people are you should be yourself no matter what, and the people that love you for it, stick with those people, love those people, and they're your people.
Yeah.
If someone doesn't like the way that you are or who you are, that's their loss. But you're just being yourself regardless, you know what I mean? And so